My 30 female boyfriend, 32 male, refuses to help me with any task, but then gets unreasonably upset when I try to find alternative solutions. I feel like I'm going to get really angry reading this.
Yeah, shall I read this one?
Yeah, you read this one.
Okay. We've been together for 5 years, and our relationship is mostly wonderful. That's a red flag. Hey everybody, what is going on, internet? Welcome back to Do As We Say, Not As They Did, your favorite relationship podcast for learning from the mistakes of others. I am your host, Dr. Nerdlove, also known as Harris O'Malley, a man whose heart says pit, but whose knees say sit. With me, as always, is my fellow host. They are a real doctor unlike me. They are a sex educator. They are a writer. They are the proprietor of the hot new bar and rotisserie-themed grill Spit and Swallow, Dr. Liz Powell.
You know, someone's going to open that now. Now that you've said it, it already exists. That is the rule of the world. Hi, everybody. It's great to be back. So today, we're going to read a couple stories on Reddit. We're going back to our Reddit-y roots, talking about a couple stories. They have very different vibes, honestly, but similar themes, I think. So Harris, let's start with our first story. This comes from Our Dating Advice. The user Wide Particular 9528. And the title is, First Time with My Boyfriend Felt Like a Porn Performance and I Feel Disconnected. Should I say something? And I feel like, without even reading the post, my answer is yes.
Yeah, right off the bat, that's a question of should I say something? Yes. Don't even need to read the rest of it. We're good. Thank you, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe.
Like, I'm not someone who says every time you're saying, should I say something, the answer is yes. There was a time in my life where I very strongly believed that, and I've gotten older, and I certainly hope at least a little wiser, and I don't think that it is always yes, but generally it is. I would say the vast majority of the time. So, I, female, have been dating this amazing guy, male, no ages, for a while now. We get along perfectly. He makes me laugh. Our talks are amazing. He's very attractive to me, and he's been clear from the start that he has serious intentions. We're already exclusive, and both of us are quite religious, so we waited a long time before becoming intimate because we wanted to build a strong foundation first. Because of that, I thought our first time together would feel like it deepened the already super deep emotional connection we have. Instead, it felt like a step back. The whole act felt like I was suddenly in a porn movie. He put me in about 5 different positions really quickly, started talking in English. We're Spanish, and he's never done this before.
I'm sorry, pause. Started speaking English when it's not his native language or yours. This feels like, oh God, what was that awful 80s movie where these 2 guys were kidnapped and brought to a town in Russia? But it was supposed to be to train them to be Americans?
Yeah, it reminds me of, there was that story of the person who had sex with her husband. It was exactly the same sequence at exactly the same time every time. And then she watched his favorite porn, and it was to the minute exactly how long they were having sex. Anyway.
I just feel like if you're having sex with someone and they bust out a foreign language, and especially that's not their native language, either you're doing something really right or you did something really wrong.
Who even knows? Okay, so he put me in about 5 different positions really quickly, started talking in English. We're Spanish, and he's never done this before. And it honestly felt like I was with a completely different person. I know he watches porn. We had briefly touched on it while talking about religion. And I even joked once about how he can be so religious while still consuming it. Honestly,
I don't know how
religious about his porn consumption. Anyway.
Yeah. He's seeing God one way or another.
They do say God a lot. Oh my God. Oh my God. Honestly, I generally don't care, and it doesn't make me insecure as long as it doesn't affect our sex life. I know a lot of guys watch it, but I didn't expect it to play out like that. I just felt really disconnected and a bit shocked, even though objectively he had great skills. Later, he told me he was really nervous because he likes me so much and wanted me to enjoy it, which was actually very sweet. But I don't know how to bring up how the experience felt for me. I don't want to sound rude, judgy, or like a prude, haha, but I also can't imagine doing it again in the exact same way. I want to make love, not just be fucked, if that makes sense. This person did write effed. Has anyone been through something similar? How do I talk to him about this in a kind way, or should I just not say anything at all?
Okay, this is just a me thing, but I really hate the phrase make love.
Yeah.
I do kind of come down to the difference between making love and fucking is mostly speed.
I don't agree. I think that there is I think that you can have varying degrees of emotional connection in the sex that you have, and that the activity that you're doing determines the emotional feeling of sexual activity less than the vibes that you're bringing in. I'm a very kinky, slutty person. Even when I love someone deeply, we don't make love in a traditional make love way because that's just not the life I lead. It means
Mm.
that they choke me very sweetly, but in the rough way that I like. So, in terms of this question, I think porn could be part of it. I think also that this is a classic mistake that people make, which is that when they're nervous and they want to do good, they do more. The best recommendation I can give for most people when you are having sex and you're nervous is to slow down, do less, attune more. Pay more
Yeah.
attention, be more present in every touch, be more present in every moment. And that will lead to much better sex than trying to do all the positions and do all the things and show off all your skills.
Honestly, I think it's the 5 positions really quickly that's kind of the giveaway here more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because that's how a lot of porn goes. It's, start over here, move to this one, move to this one, move to this one, move back to this one, cum shot, end of thing. And I know for a fact that this person is not the only person who's experienced this, because I've heard a lot of people complain about and they're usually sleeping with a man when they have this issue, where they're like just doing all these, moving
Usually
them around a lot.
man.
Yeah, moving them around. Not even that. Sometimes a lot of gay men too.
Well, that's fair.
But moving them around, switching positions, and putting them into positions that are really kind of uncomfortable and open or twisted in ways that don't seem to make sense until you realize that they're aiming at an invisible camera.
Yeah.
And it's I know it's kind of a cliche to talk about how we have given up on sex education as anything other than a plumbing diagram. And that's why everyone's trying to learn from porn these days. I think it's more to do with just we don't talk to our children about porn and about the difference between porn and actual sex.
Yeah.
And so people think that that's how it's supposed to be.
Porn is to sex what Fast and the Furious is to driving. Do they technically drive vehicles? Yes. Are there things that they do in those movies that you could do in your vehicle? Sure. Should you drive the way that they drive in those movies in general? No. Absolutely not. You would die or kill other people or have a horrible wreck. Both, right? And just for the record, no, you cannot redirect a torpedo using your hand.
Also, just for the record, you're not going to get a lot of money for selling those combo DVD VHS TVs. No one wants them anymore. Seriously, they are pointless. Even people who are like media preservists don't want those things. It does 3 things badly.
So the thing about watching porn to learn about sex is that there are things in there that can give you ideas and inspiration. And you need to understand that in porn, unless you're watching something like the Crash Pad series, their number one metric of what they are doing is, does it look good on camera?
Yes.
Not does it feel good, not is it enjoyable, not are both people having a good time, does it look good on camera? And what that means is that the positions you see in porn are inspired by positions that can be very pleasurable in regular sex, but significantly different from them, because if you think about how bodies work, you can't see penis and vagina with regular sex positions. You need to have bodies adjusted such that the camera can get a clear angle on the penetration, which is how you prove they're actually having sex and it's not just like silly camera angles, Hollywood tricks, right? Yeah. So
you're not watching Emmanuel ride somebody's navel.
Right. So one of the things I've learned from people who I know or have taken classes from about intimacy coordination, those like airport neck pillows, they use those all the time to create separation between people's genitals so that when they're like faking sex, they're bumping into the airport neck pillow and not each other's bodies. Now you know.
Yeah, there's that. But they're both wearing usually some form of like dancer's belt or something to like cover up
some
the
kind
genitals.
Of modesty garment. Yeah. They're always wearing a modesty garment of some kind. There are a variety of different kinds. A lot of times, depending on what you're seeing, they might be fully clothed from the waist down. It's really, when you've taken a couple of classes about intimacy coordination, you watch sex scenes very differently because you can really tell what the tricks are that they're using. But regardless, right? Yeah. So the reason that porn looks the way it does is because they are always trying to get a good shot for the camera. That creates a lot of positions that are actually very uncomfortable for the people doing them. When you are trying to mimic what is happening in porn, you again can do positions that are similar, but what you want to be thinking about is not how did it look in porn? You want to be thinking about, how am I feeling? How is my partner feeling? Am I getting feedback from them? Am I giving them feedback? Are we making sure that we are both actually enjoying this? right? And go slow. Go so much slower than you think you need to. Not in terms of the actual thrusting necessarily, though sometimes that
Yeah.
too, but in terms of everything. Go slower from kissing to taking clothes off. Go slower from taking clothes off to penetration of any kind, right? Go
Yeah.
slower in terms of moving from doing stuff with hands to doing stuff with mouths. Take your time. It's not a race. Enjoy each of those moments. And when I say pay attention to your own sensory experience, there is a very significant difference that you notice when you are touching someone, even with the goal of their pleasure, but focused on your own feeling versus looking at them to seeing if it's working, right? When you are paying attention to your body and you are in your body and you are noticing how things feel on your body, you will be much more able to help your partner experience more pleasure than if you're just trying to monitor them for signs if it's working.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of those positions are going to be uncomfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Not
them
just not
only,
just the recipient. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of them are only for the camera. They're not for anybody. Nobody would do them in real life. A lot of the times when you see someone doing, some form of reverse cowgirl or,
With the
sitting on
feet on
top
the
of someone,
knees.
the
Ugh.
feet on the knees or the
And the
bouncing
lean
on
back and
the
it's
bouncing on the
awful.
dick or
Yeah.
the lean back is the one that really bugs me because I just look at that and go like, that is bending things in directions that it is not meant
Yeah.
to go, and that is not gonna lead to anybody having a good time.
It creates very bad angles for the penis and the orifice it's going into. It's not
And
good.
both that and also especially the very vigorous bouncing in female superior or from behind is I have known people who have gotten a little too
Yep.
enthusiastic in terms
Broke
of the
your dick.
bouncy or the
Yep.
pull back and pull in and ended up, and I'm not exaggerating when I say broke
Breaking
their
the dick.
penis.
Yep.
Yeah, the dick came out, slammed into a place that was not yielding, and things went
Snapped. Yep.
pop. And that was the first time that I think a lot of people realized you can actually fracture a penis.
Well, you can't fracture because this doesn't have a bone.
But it
But
did damage
you can damage
the spongy tissues,
the
and
spongy
they
tissues. You can damage
instant
the connective
bronies.
tissue. Yeah, no, it's real bad. It's real bad.
There's
And
also the fact
again,
that just the constant switching of positions, which is a very good way.
it's
It's
cute
good for
fun. Again, I'm an
video because it's
ADHDer.
but it's also going to keep everybody from orgasming too quickly.
Sure. Yeah,
Like
which is another important thing in porn.
yeah, you got to make it last for as long as possible. And a lot of these guys, let us be honest, are using some desensitization creams, but
Don't do
it's
that.
a way of
Don't do that.
controlling the pacing. And
Yeah.
switching very quickly for guys, maybe not necessarily a problem, but for the person being penetrated, there is nothing more frustrating than someone hitting it just right, and you're getting close, and then they change it up. No warning, just like suddenly either the rhythm changes, they speed up, slow down, pull out, flip you over, whatever. It's just like that's not even like edging or orgasm denial. That's just like almost there, almost that. Why did you do that?
Yeah, I'm a very lucky person in that it is very easy for me to orgasm and I can orgasm a lot. So I have less of this issue than a lot of people who are, born with vaginas. I also very much enjoy penetration. So again, I'm very lucky in that the kind of sex that for many AFAB folks would not be getting them anywhere close to an orgasm will have me coming a ton. But I think that this is a really good opportunity for the two of you to have explicit conversations about sex and what you do enjoy and what you don't enjoy. If you are super religious, you may not actually know that very well. And that's okay. There are a lot of great ways to learn. There are great books about this kind of thing. There are great online classes about this kind of thing. There are apps about this kind of thing. But I think most importantly, this is a good opportunity for both of you to spend some time exploring each other's bodies and asking questions about, like, do you want faster or slower? Do you want harder or softer? Do you want nails or just fingers? Right? So the reason I phrase these questions this way comes from an exercise from, I think it was even from freaking One Taste, unfortunately, which was a sex cult in San Francisco. There's a great documentary. Go watch it.
Also a really good like multi-part Behind the Bastards before you watch the documentary.
Oh, it's
all
so
amazing.
I know people who were in One Taste and who got out, and people who got eaten by One Taste in the bad way.
I
Anyway,
was about to say.
the idea of this exercise was that you would have one person who is touching and one person who is receiving. And the person who is touching would ask specific questions like, do you want harder or softer? And the person receiving would give them a straightforward response, like harder, and they would say thank you, to practice soliciting feedback and receiving it well. And then you would have the person receiving start making specific requests. I'd like a firmer touch. I'd like a faster touch, right? And you want to give these very concrete things, not does that feel good? Because does that feel good requires you to come out of your sensory experience into a place of determining judgments about it, versus do you want firmer or softer? Usually pretty easy to tell, right? Reed Mihalko will talk about doing this at a vision appointment of like, do you like this or this better? So you try two things and let them know, have them let you know which one they like better, right? But spending the time to really just be with each other's bodies in a way that is not expecting either person to do it perfect right away, but instead is about helping to understand and learn each other's bodies. That is about exploration and experimentation and play and curiosity, so that it's got less pressure, because it sounds like this was a big deal for both of you. And that means that every little thing that went wrong within it was going to take on a lot more meaning. So I think we need to take a lot of that pressure off so that you can actually get to know and explore each other in a way that is more present.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of empathy for this guy, because it's very clear, as you said, they don't say their ages, but they're clearly very young.
Yeah, I was guessing early 20s.
And I would guess even like teens, like late
I don't
teens,
think
18,
so.
19.
With as religious as they are, I don't think so.
I would be willing to bet that, because a lot of religious people get engaged so they can have sex.
That's fair. Fair.
But like that really is a case where like I think this is an area where kind of education has failed everybody. I mean, they're not American from what I've gathered, but
yeah,
if they're like, I suspect that their like sexual education was a little bit lacking as well, because having a conversation of what do you like, let's talk this through, or even let's experiment a little bit before, we get to the main event would be good. And I can understand why they may not have had this conversation, because it's not one that a lot of people really think to have. But before they had sex, to say, how do you masturbate? What do you like when you're masturbating? And what kind of pressure?
Does she
works?
Masturbate?
Yeah, like, do you at all?
Does. Another question. Does she? Yeah. I think too, start sharing with each other things that you enjoy. So if there's porn he particularly enjoys, have him share it with you. Ask him what he enjoys about it. What are the parts about it that he likes? Is it the way that they interact? Is it specific acts or activities? What is it that works really well for him? If there are things that get you particularly turned on, for women, more stereotypically, this is stories or those kinds of things. Share those with him. Talk to him about like, what do you like about this? What is it that gets you turned on in these things? Talk about what experiences you've had with other people, if you've had any, and what did work well, what didn't work well. Also talk with each other about, how will I know if you're having a good time? How will I know if you're not having a good time, right? So that you already have established this set of expectations of, sometimes we have a good time, sometimes we don't. I'm going to be actively looking for signs that you are having a good time or are not. And you can explicitly tell me that something
and also, this is a time when safe words, not just for kink, not just for bondage, having a, red light, green light, yellow light signal of some sort can be really helpful, where you like, red light means stop, yellow means maybe not, or proceed carefully. That can be really helpful. But one thing that can be tricky, and I can understand why some people don't necessarily have these conversations, is that especially for guys, a lot of guys aren't mindful, let's say, about what it is that is getting them off when they're masturbating or when they're watching porn. Like a lot of guys, if you asked them, it would probably be the first time they ever actually sat down and thought about what they do, as opposed to just being on autopilot because they've been doing it for so long. But there really is, we are so absolutely getting demonetized with this video on YouTube.
No chance.
A lot of guys don't really think about, okay, a lot of pressure or little pressure, a lot of lube, little lube, more attention towards the head or more towards the shaft, more on the frenulum. Are you sitting in such a way that you're putting pressure on your prostate or doing something that otherwise hits that spot on you? These are things that a lot of guys don't think about. And it's also one of the reasons how you end up with, the medical literature calls it idiosyncratic masturbatory practice. Dan Savage calls it death grip syndrome. Where the way that you're masturbating, if you have a penis, is going to make it very, very difficult for you to actually get aroused and ejaculate with another human being, because you're using pressures or textures or levels of sensation that no human part of the human anatomy is going to be able to replicate. And so it doesn't matter how many Kegels your partner has done or whether they could suck a golf ball through a garden hose. it's not going to be the texture or the level of intensity that you need. So being mindful about that's going to be really important. Same thing with what is it about the porn that gets you off? I'm going to be real here. I don't like context-free porn. I tend to like a little bit more of a storyline to it because otherwise it's just,
Okay,
all right, two
okay.
random people fucking. I've seen this all of my life. I've had a lot of casual sex with people I barely know. Having a little context, a little story does add some texture to it. Not gonna lie. It makes
Sure.
it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, and I think it is a great opportunity for everybody to be taking a better look at, why do I like this? What is hot about this for me? How do I like this? Maybe they can watch each other masturbate or masturbate together so they can see what works really well for me, what works really well for you. I think that this is a very common thing that
Mhm.
happens in cishet relationships. I think there's also an expectation that you shouldn't talk explicitly about it because that's not sexy, or you should just know, or you shouldn't be a bitch about it and make him do things, right? There's a lot of different societal scripts that get layered onto these kinds of
Oh, yeah.
experiences that make it harder to have clear conversations, and you still need to have them if you actually want to have fulfilling sex. I've had people in my classes, I've had people I've worked with who have been in sexual relationships with the same person for a decade or more, and it never actually worked for them, but they never talked to their partner about it
Mm.
because they didn't want to rock the boat. There were other things that were good, right? It is so much better for you to just talk about it. If this
And
person
sometimes they
freaks
don't
out
even
when you're
know that
talking
they
about it, it's
don't
good to
like
break
it.
up. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they don't know that it's not supposed to feel like that. They don't know that what they're having is uncomfortable bad sex because they were never told that sex was supposed to feel good. You would think that would be obvious, but especially
Yeah.
for women, like, the
Hmm.
idea of sex is anything but uncomfortable or painful even, especially
Something
the
you
first time.
tolerate or endure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, again, this is a really tough thing because we don't have a lot of good scripts about it. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of people in the comments are saying, like, porn is the problem. And, like, maybe it is. I don't know. But I don't think it necessarily is the problem. I think it might be contributing to part of the problem if he does not know how to, again, contextualize porn as something that is fast and the furious, not real life driving, right?
Yeah. Porn is the problem in as much as that he doesn't know what would work or what would feel good, and so
Yeah.
he's looking, like a lot of people would, for examples, and the
He wants
problem
to have the
is that
answers already,
yeah,
and you
and
have
it's
to
a very
discover
guy
them.
thing, especially to
Yeah.
like we are expected to a certain degree, and it's mostly self-imposed, either from ourselves or from other guys, to know what we're doing. There
Yeah.
is something truly terrifying for a lot of guys to be vulnerable in that moment to say, I am a complete beginner at this, because we have been taught in the many ways that, our value as men is then how much ass we kick and how much ass we eat. And
Yeah.
so being able to show up even for the first time, being studly good night, and just bang it out like you're a champion already there's a lot of scripts that go into that.
And if
And
you're someone, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry.
I was going to
I
say,
was
like, if you're someone who wants to know how to better have sex with people who have vaginas and vulvas, read Girl Sex 101 by Allison Moon. It is a really great book. It has pictures. It talks very in depth about different things that you can do, right? It's a great resource. If you're in a relationship and the sex is not working super well, or someone's having an issue with erections or with premature ejaculation or an inability to ejaculate, look into resources that walk you through exercises from sensate focus therapy.
mm,
Sensate focus therapy was developed by Masters and Johnson and other people around that time to address various sexual functioning issues within relationships. And it's a really great method of developing a sexual connection around a slower process of moving towards different kinds of activities, focused in attunement, focused in paying attention to each other's bodies and
mm,
really your own pleasure and your own experience rather than disconnecting and doing what you're supposed to do, right? I
yeah,
think you need to let go of your scripts here, right? There's
yeah.
no right way to do this. There's the way that feels good for everybody involved. And as long as you find that, that's great.
There's a couple other books that are worth checking out, like Dr. Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
really good for kind of like figuring out your own orgasmic patterns and your own arousal patterns,
Mm-hmm.
because she's also one of the people that really differentiates between receptive sexuality, where someone's arousal is
Responsive. Yeah.
responsive, thank you, where that's you start having sex and then the arousal happens, as
Yep.
opposed to spontaneous arousal patterns, which tends to be a more cis masculine response pattern where you're aroused and then you have sex.
Yep.
There's also, and I don't know if this is another one of those books that has gotten like reconsidered, Come As You Are. Not Come As You Are, She Comes First,
I don't
which
know. Yeah, I don't know. I
I
haven't
know that was written
It's been a
by
long
a
time.
man, and so there's a lot of reconsidering some of these
Yeah.
books as, maybe not getting canceled, but definitely going like, "Oh, problematic for these reasons." I hadn't heard anything about it, but just putting it out there that sometimes that happens.
Yeah. I mean, part of why I like Girl Sex 101 is it's written from a largely sapphic lesbian perspective, right?
Mm.
So it's people with vaginas and vulvas talking about how to have sex with people with vaginas and vulvas. And again, very illustrated, lots of illustrations, right? So really helpful in that way.
And really helpful for dealing with the orgasm gap, which is a
Yeah.
real issue where there tends to be an orgasm gap. We talked about this in a previous episode where 70% of women have a hard time, like, will not orgasm from penetration alone, whereas
Yeah.
nearly 100% of men will. And that gap disappears when you're talking about, sex between people with vaginas or women who love women and between two men. And so,
Yep.
yeah, going to the expert, as it were, is really helpful because you're going to do better if your definition of sex is more than just penetration.
Well, and to be frank, right, with the proportion of women who are capable of having multiple orgasms versus the proportion of men who are capable of having multiple orgasms, the orgasm gap should be the opposite direction. Women should be having 2 to 20 times as many orgasms as men. But a lot of men feel like their job is to put dick in hole rather
Mhm.
than be attuned to their partner's pleasure and experience.
Dicky,
Uh,
dicky, ho, dicky,
and
dicky, ho.
like, there are so many different places online that you can read about different ways of approaching sex and different positions that actually work for real human bodies. Like I said, there are online classes. There are a lot of great sex educators who do this work, who have very affordable online classes that will talk to you about a lot of different ways to have sex that are pleasurable for the people having them. Watching stuff like the Crash Pad series
Mm.
is really good. Crash Pad is real people having real sex. It's still porn, but it is less porny in its positioning and all of those elements than regular porn is. And so it can be a better look at what does sex really look like. It's also very, very queer. If you're
Yeah.
someone who wants to learn how to have sex with a person with the kind of body your partner has, queer porn featuring those kinds of bodies is often really helpful because it takes a lot of those cis het normative scripts out of it, particularly queer porn, not gay or lesbian porn,
Yeah.
because those are still very much under a cis het leaning umbrella in terms of how porn production happens.
And if they have long fingernails, it was made for cis men.
I mean, so I do know some sapphics who have long fingernails and are still very good at them and have a variety of tricks that they use to make that work. I am not that skilled. When I briefly had longer, like my fingernails are very short. When I briefly had slightly longer fingernails, I just like pre-stuffed before parties a bunch of gloves with cotton balls in the tips so that my nails would not cause a problem if I was putting my hand in somebody. But yeah, there's a lot of great resources out there, including porn resources that can be very helpful in addressing these issues. And I think this is not just one conversation, this is a lot of conversations. This is a lot of experiment dates of today, the job is for you to just experience me giving you touch and for you to tell me what feels good, what feels bad, maybe use a 0 to 10 scale for how good it is. Have them go back to different things when you're different degrees of turned on, because sometimes something that doesn't feel so great when you're not super turned on feels amazing when you're very turned
Oh, yeah.
on, right? And so like just really spending time to get to know each other's bodies. And the reason I talk about doing dates where like one person receives and the other just gives is to get out of this very transactional nature that we can often feel in sex. Like, oh, well, he did this thing for me, now I have to do something for him. Just pull it out of that. Just receive for a while, practice just receiving, practice getting to know each other's bodies, and then it's so much easier to have sex in a way that feels good for everybody and that is, again, present and mindful and embodied.
And it's
I
also
think
sorry. It's also really helpful because it's a great idea, and it's really helpful because amongst other things, it's gonna take a lot of the pressure off too, especially if you are inexperienced and if you are, as a man or someone who has a penis, are worried about your hang time.
yeah,
Not having to worry about that and being able to be either just be giving in a way that works for your partner that's not going to end with your orgasm, or to be receiving in a way where the amount of time it's going to take is not going to be as meaningful, or it's not going to take away from your partner, is really, really freeing. It can feel a
yeah,
little bit weird when the focus is entirely on you. So sometimes you have to be able to relax into it. And that's also a valuable lesson.
really valuable lesson.
But also, one thing I think is really important, and it kind of ties into a thing we briefly touched on in a previous episode, the conversations around these. A lot of people don't want to have these conversations because it really feels like it's going to be clinical or
Mhm.
legalistic. It's sort of like the way that people think that really good consent conversation goes, where it feels like, all right, you are allowed to put your hand onto the breast for 5 seconds, no longer, no squeeze. This does not entitle you to hands going anywhere else. That is not how it works. You can make all of this part of the seduction and the foreplay, where it's not just, oh, hey, we're going to learn about each other. It's, all right, tonight we're just going to make this all about what you like. We're going to figure this out together. We are going to just really, really work on what you're going to experience. Like, making it part of the seduction, making the, I want you to tell me how this feels. I
Mhm.
want you to say a little bit faster, a little bit slower. Do you like that? Tell me what you like.
Mhm.
That's going to make it really, really hot,
Yeah.
especially if one of you really wants someone to be in charge and telling you what to do. That's going to be.
And like again, even if we bring DS dynamics into this, I could be submissive to someone and still have them spending an entire night figuring out what feels good for me. And
Mhm.
that's a really hot way to subvert that dynamic, right? Like you can make this happen a whole lot of different ways.
Oh yeah,
I
service
think
stop. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and like your job as the sub is to be honest about what works and what doesn't. If they think you're not being honest, or if they think that like you're holding back, then you're gonna have to pay the price, right? Like there's a lot of ways to do this. I think again, just talk about it, right? Like Reed Mihalko talks about embrace the awkward. Is
Mhm.
starting this conversation going to be awkward? Possibly, probably. Is figuring this thing out between the two of you going to have a lot of awkward moments? Almost certainly. And that is the price of having a good relationship, is having moments that are awkward, having moments that are weird, having moments where we realize that something that worked really well for us did not work for our partner or vice versa, and then figuring out together how do we instead find something that works very well for both of us.
Oh yeah, and working on the awkward and getting used to, I would even say embrace the awkward. Like
Mhm.
having those moments makes you realize that just because something is awkward does not mean it's over. It doesn't necessarily take it out
Yeah.
of the mood. It teaches you how to roll with it.
Yeah, if you have sex for any period of time, if you're a person in relationships for any period of time, there's going to be tons of awkward moments. There's going to be tons of awkward things that happen. Someone's going to fart in the middle of sex. You're going to be going down on someone and they are going to be trying so hard to hold in that fart and they're going to fail. And it's going to be something that happens and you need to figure out how to get through that, right? Like,
Or there's gonna be like the dog is gonna get into the room and the cat is gonna jump on the bed and refuse to leave. Someone's gonna
yep,
start pounding on the wall because you're being too loud, or you're gonna
yep.
get a call from the front desk. That one's happened to me before. Like, that's, yeah, sometimes, like, weird shit's gonna happen. It's the nature of sex. You kinda
yeah.
just learn to deal with it. I still think my favorite story in terms of this really just went to a place where we could not keep going was somebody had their playlist going, but they didn't pay attention to which playlist they had put
Oh
on.
no.
So they had put it on and they had put it on shuffle, but they didn't put like loop back around. So once it went through the playlist, it went to the next playlist on the list, and the very first thing that came up was the Power Rangers theme.
Amazing. Amazing. I love it.
The only thing that I think could make it better is right as somebody was about to
Right
come,
about to come.
all of a sudden, like,
Go,
cresting the
go,
wave, and
Power
then
Ranger.
exactly, that would be
Yes.
the most amazing moment.
Yes.
It'd be like having sex when you're living next to like a sports facility and you just all of a sudden hear all these people cheering.
Yeah. And again, these things are going to happen. This is part of
A
life.
thousand
It's
percent it's
okay.
gonna
It's
happen.
very funny. You can laugh during sex and you can still have hot sex, right? Sex is going to be weird and gross and also pleasurable and lovely and beautiful. And like
Mhm.
all of it can be there. Just like have a chat. Have a
And think
chat.
about, like, when you're watching porn, again, I realize that most of the time if you're watching porn, your goal is to get off, and it's usually to get off as quickly as possible. But sometimes sitting there and getting into lit critic mode of what is
Yeah.
the reason that I'm getting to this? What is it about this that I find so hot? Is it like you're watching something where the whole point is the taboo nature of it? That's the whole point of a lot
Mhm.
of like the my wife's hot friend or sexy
Mhm.
stepmother or whatever. It's the person you're not allowed to fuck, but you're doing it anyway. So it's the taboo of it. Is it the power exchange? Is it the way that one person is really enjoying this kind of sex? Are they really vocal? Or is it even like this person is very clearly the one who's in charge, even though dynamically you wouldn't think they are? There are some porn stars that I really like, who I like watching them perform, but I would be afraid to have sex with them because I would look at them and go like, oh, they're just going to break me. Never mind the performance aspect. There is something about them that, like, if the sex gets really good, I am going to be twisted into a pretzel before it is all said and done, and I will not be able to keep up with them.
And the last thing I want to say about this is that for most assigned female at birth people, penetration is not the star of sex. So if you're worried about how long you will last before an orgasm or worried about your dick staying hard, your fingers are always going to be plenty hard.
Fingers
a dildo
never get soft, tongue never
always
goes
going to
soft.
be plenty hard. And the stuff that you do with your dick inside of them is probably not the best part for them anyway, unless they're a freak like me. So don't worry about it. It's fine. If you come very quickly, that's a great chance for you to then use your mouth or your hands or some toys, spend a bunch of time having all the fun with your partner, right?
Oh yeah.
This
If you're the
person talks
who
about
oh,
go ahead.
That's the other thing about don't use porn as your lessons. Leaving aside all the things that it leaves out, like lube, like needing to take a break, needing to change
Which
up
they
what you're
do
doing.
while filming.
Yeah.
Having
they
been
do
at
all
many
these
porn
things.
filmings, they do that all the time.
Yeah, you're not seeing all the edits. But also, it doesn't end with ejaculation, or at least it doesn't have to.
No.
And making that the stopping point is part of why a lot of people get worried about their level of endurance, their level of hang time, however you want to frame it. And that's because once I come, I'm not going to be able to have sex again. You're just not going to be able to orgasm. But like you were saying, you got your hands, you got your tongues, you got toys. And it's very much a case, if you can get comfortable with using toys and skillful with using them and you don't have a lot of ego with it, that alone is going to make you a prince among men.
You can get a strap-on harness and continue fucking her with a dill. It'll be fine.
Yeah, they make ones that you can put on your thigh if you want them to sit on it and grind on it. Like, you can do a lot of ways.
They make face ones, all kinds of straps these days.
Yeah, just remember, it is the hand that wields the hammer that makes the difference.
Yes.
It's not the hammer that's building the house. It's the hand wielding it. Same with sex toys.
And then the one last thing is she's talking about, like, should I just, like, how do I talk to him about this in a kind way? Should I not say anything at all? Here's the thing. If your partner does not care that you didn't enjoy it, don't ever fuck them again. Your partner should care very, very deeply that you had a good time. It should be one of the most important things about them or to them about having sex is that you are both having a great time. If that is not true, they are a person you should not fuck. So yeah, your partner wants to know. And if they don't want to know, break the fuck up, because that's not a person you want to be with.
Yeah. And you don't have to come at it, as it were, like, hey, all right, so I got some notes. You don't need to do it like that. You could say, there are a lot of ways to bring it up and say, okay, here's what worked for me, here's what didn't. Or when we were having sex, I know what you were going for, but this wasn't really working for me. A lot of times here's what I really like, or here's what I would like to try next time, is a great way of framing it, because now it takes you're not coming to it from you screwed up, how dare you be bad at sex. It's more along the lines of like, all right, here's what I would like to try next time. Here's what I would prefer. Here's what wasn't quite doing it for me. Was it doing something for you? Because then maybe we can adjust. We could figure out a way to make that work.
But he's also giving you a great in, right? Like, he's giving you an automatic in. He told you he was really nervous. You can say like, hey, remember how you said that you were really nervous the first time we had sex? I'm really glad you told me that, because I feel like we kind of just missed each other in that experience. And I was really hoping it would be this connected, present experience, but it felt like we were kind of both just disconnected. And I'd love for us to figure out a way to do that differently.
Yeah, it's like, hey, listen, let's take this a little bit slower. We don't have to do it like that. We can do it like this. We can try it this way. And especially take the time to just have times where it's just, all right, tonight is your night, tomorrow night's their night. Really, really getting to know what's going to work for each other. That's going to take so much pressure off of you, especially if you agreed that let's try this before we go for penetration. That way you don't have to worry about having to make this one-time magical with no prep work whatsoever. It's a little bit like trying to do improv. People who are really good at improv didn't just get on stage one day and said, I'm going to be funny. They did a lot of exercises and learned a whole lot of stuff and did a lot of yes and crow. And so the same is true with sex. Doing a lot of learning the basics, talking with your partner, learning how to interact with them, learning how to read them, talking about what you'd like, don't like, really thinking about it. And if you don't know, good God, experiment, make it
Yeah,
hot. And I mean,
yeah.
like, really make it hot. Have your partner put on a lab coat and some glasses and grab a clipboard and make it like kind of a medical scene,
There's
just
all
like
kinds
really
of
get
things you
some
can
mad
do with
scientists
it.
going for it. Igor,
Yeah.
bring me the extra dildo.
There's so much you can do. Okay.
Because that's how
You
you
ready to
know
move
your
on?
partner has a hump.
You ready to move on to our next one?
I think we can go on.
Okay. So our second post for this one, it comes from our relationships. User Blue Juniper 26. My 30 female boyfriend, 32 male, refuses to help me with any task, but then gets unreasonably upset when I try to find alternative solutions. I feel like I'm going to get really angry reading this.
Yeah, shall I read this one?
Yeah, you read this one.
Okay. We've been together for 5 years, and our relationship is mostly wonderful. That's a red flag. And he does do his fair share of chores. That's the other one. And housework around the house, so it's not really about that. Yes, it is. But it seems like if there's a difficult task I need to do that requires two people and he declines to help, he gets so mad at me for trying to find another solution. Here are a few examples. Example 1. I bought a shelf and TV stand for our guest room. When it arrived, it was obviously too heavy for me to move on my own. I asked my boyfriend for help, but he kept declining or making excuses and was even upset with me for not buying something easier to move. I decided to go online and try to find someone I could pay to come help me, and he flipped out and told me it was ridiculous to pay someone, that maybe he could help, and basically trying really hard to dissuade me despite his outright refusal to help? Question mark. Number 2, our cat had a small accident while he was gaming, and he asked me to come over and clean off the cat and everything else, even though he was right there not doing anything. Our cat was scared, kept running away from me, and he got so mad and said, ugh, just forget it, I'll do it, and then didn't even move to get up. So I grabbed one of our cat's favorite toys to try to lure him and my boyfriend. She meant the cat, but for a second I thought she meant grab the cat's favorite toy to lure the boyfriend. And my boyfriend got so angry and said, you don't need to do any of that. It worked, and I was able to clean off the cat. I have so many thoughts about that one as a cat owner.
Same.
Number 3, our washing machine stopped working, and I asked him to take a look, and he refused to do so. I then asked him to come ask his brother to come over and look. His brother is a handyman for work, and he said he would only do it after I cleaned the entire house because he didn't want his brother to see any mess. Okay.
They do equal housework?
Yeah. I decided to try and find someone online to come repair it, or at least help me figure out what was wrong, and he got very upset and told me it was a waste of money and all this and that. When we talked about this, he tells me he wants me to be able to do most things on my own without help. I get it, but some of these things seem impossible to do on my own. If he needs help with things, I usually try to do my best to assist. It just feels like I don't get the same energy. I guess I just want advice on what to do in these situations when they come up. All of this happened within the last week or so it happens pretty often. I always end up either leaving these things and not doing them because he gets so mad, or doing them anyway, and he gets mad because he told me not to. I guess I just don't want him to be mad, lol. TLDR, I have some issues with certain tasks that I ask my boyfriend for help on. He usually refuses and then gets upset when I try to find alternative help.
Okay. Fuck this dude. Break up with him now.
This
I'm
is
sorry. Dump
not
him.
cool. This is weird.
Yeah. So here's the thing. He has decided how everything needs to happen, and he's punishing you for not doing it. That's not a relationship. He's treating you like a disobedient child, not a partner. I firmly believe, so there's this person who wrote a book called Fair Play, also created a card game that goes along with it that's designed to help distribute household tasks among people in a relationship. And the whole premise of that system is that whoever gets the task as their task gets to plan it and execute it any way they want, as long as it meets the agreed upon outcome that is needed for that task. So the planning, conceptualization, execution, all of that is on the person who takes it, and they can do it however they want. If what he wants is for you to take care of that shelf and TV center thing, then you get to do it however the fuck you want. He doesn't get to tell you you're doing it wrong unless he is going to take it over and do it. So either he gets to determine how to do it, in which case it is his, or you get to determine how to do it, in which case it is yours, or you get to collaborate together on a solution that both of you agree to. But right now, it sounds like he is using his anger to control you and to punish you for what he views as disobedience and failure. And that is not a relationship.
Yeah, and the line that really made me it shot my eyebrows to the stratosphere was, he wants me to be able to do things on my own without help. Bullshit. Because the thing that shows that this is a lie is the fact that he is complaining that she hired someone to come help her put something together that she was physically unable to lift. It was too heavy for her. And his complaint is then we should have bought something that wasn't as heavy. Motherfucker, have you ever dealt with an entertainment console that is made of anything
They're
other
all
than
fucking
2 bricks and some
heavy.
plywood? They are all gonna be goddamn heavy.
You can't move any of those on your own. What the
And
fuck are you talking about?
no matter what IKEA flat pack shit you've got, first of all, you got to be able to lift the whole thing to get it into your apartment. And once you've assembled it, if you have not assembled it in the exact space where you need it, it is still gonna, you may be able to lift the individual components and put them together. But if you need to tilt it up to the wall, or if you need to move it to where it's gonna be because you can't assemble it in the spot where it's eventually gonna live, yeah, you're gonna need an extra pair of hands. And getting upset at someone for doing so when you have refused to help them for whatever bullshit reason, that is not teaching them to be self-reliant. That is just punishing them for physics. And that is the sign that this is not them being beneficent in trying to make you self-sufficient.
The things that got it for me were like, the cat had the accident by him, and he said, you take care of it. You're doing it wrong. I'll do it. No, I'm not doing anything. What's wrong with you? Why are you doing it the wrong way? And then the whole like, well, I'll ask my brother to come help with the washing machine, but only if you clean the whole house first. Bitch, no. No. This is
Like his brother hasn't seen a messy house before, or even
this is
his
such
messy ass
misogynistic
house
bullshit.
before? Yes.
Let's be honest. This is misogyny, right? This is gendered emotional violence. There was a really great Substack post that I will find and send to Allie to put in our show notes about the ways that men's bad moods control homes and the ways that it does not take physical violence or even like super explicit emotional abuse for men's bad moods to cause the entire family to operate around them, right?
Mhm.
And her post of like, I always end up either leaving these things and not doing them because he gets so mad, or doing them anyways and he's mad because he told me not to. I guess I just don't want him to be mad. It's not your job to make him not mad. That's his job. If he's this mad, he should be in fucking therapy with a therapist who will call him on his bullshit and not tell him he's a poor sweet baby whose partner is so terrible for wanting help putting together things that are physically too heavy for her to lift.
I've got a very good friend who was in a extremely toxic and abusive marriage. And it took her a long time to really recognize that this was abuse because her husband at the time did not hit her. He did not hit her. He did not raise his voice. He did not do all the things that we typically associate with abusive behavior. What he did was a lot of what this guy did, where he would get really upset about things that she did wrong. Never mind the fact that the right way was the thing that he asked for, and she tried to do it that way, but it physically didn't work for one reason or another. Or if it was a thing that he wanted done that she did wrong or inappropriately, or he just didn't feel like dealing with it at the time, again, the same story, he would just leave it and neglect it until such a point that either it got unignorable and then it had to be addressed, and usually, depending on what was going on, cost a lot of money because it also caused problems because they left stuff on the floor for so long it actually caused mold, or they left cat pee in a place that actually rotted the carpet. He would get so frustrated, he'd be like, fine. And then he would go do it in the most desultory way and then would leverage his bad mood against her for the next week.
Yeah.
And that's what this guy is doing. This is a form of coercive abuse. It is not cool. The fact that he's mad, but he's not mad in the waving fist, raised voice way, disguises the fact to some people that it's abuse, that it's coercion, but it's still there. The fact that she is worried about making him mad and trying not to make him mad for doing very reasonable things and having to walk on eggshells around him, that's how you know where the problem is really.
Yeah. So the title of the post is Men's Weaponized Bad Moods, and it's from the Substack of Bad Woman. I want to read this section. The important thing about chronic male grumpiness is that it rarely presents itself as explicit abuse. That is partly why it remains socially invisible. The man insists he is fine while radiating hostility. He sighs loudly. He withdraws emotionally. He snaps over minor inconveniences. He becomes cold, distant, sarcastic, or unresponsive. He creates tension without directly acknowledging it. Everyone else in the room immediately begins adapting. Women lower their voices. Children become quieter. Plans change. Emotional energy shifts towards soothing, anticipating, and managing him. Entire households reorganize themselves around preventing escalation. This dynamic closely resembles what psychologists describe in research on coercive control and emotional abuse. Coercive control does not always rely on overt violence. It often operates through intimidation, unpredictability, and emotional domination.
Yeah,
And,
no,
and
that sounds about
another
right.
a paragraph down, that what makes these environments so psychologically exhausting is their ambiguity. The man can always deny wrongdoing because nothing serious happened. No screaming, no threats, no violence, just tension. And that's
And
the issue here, right? Is that he does not want you to find some way to fix his bad mood. He does not want you to find some way to actually accomplish these tasks. He wants you to be under his control. He wants you to be afraid of making him mad and to orient all of your choices around preventing him from being mad at you.
and what's making him mad is always going to change. It is never going to be
Yes.
consistent, and that's part of it. That is one of the tells of, is this relationship really toxic? Is it getting abusive? Is, are you always on edge because you're walking on eggshells because you never know what's going to set them off? That is a warning sign. That is always a sign of, if they are not doing it deliberately, that they are deeply emotionally dysregulated, and that then they need to deal with their shit and you need to deal with yours separately away from them. And the indications in here really are of, she's being set up to fail every single time. The thing with the cat having a small accident, there are circumstances under which I could understand where somebody would say, hey, could you take care of this? When they say he was gaming, I wish she had been a little bit more specific, because are we talking tabletop with a bunch of people over? Are we
Sure.
talking about multiplayer online, something that you can't pause? You know, if you're playing an online shooter and you're literally in the middle of a session, I could understand why you can't stop in the middle of this. Would your partner be willing to help? It sounds like, no, he just didn't want to stop what he was doing, couldn't hit pause or whatever. And the fact that the cat was running away suggests that there was some more going on. Maybe he was like something happening. If you've had a long-haired animal, you've dealt with having to clean poop off of an animal. And it's not easy. Depending on the animal, it's going to resist, because you're having to really get in there with a cloth or a brush or something, and it doesn't feel good. You're pulling at the fur. They're upset. You're having to keep them calm. You're also trying to keep it as, you know, relatively clean as possible as you can, so you're not spreading extra mess elsewhere. It is a very weird, awkward situation. And if the animal's resisting, sometimes it is going to be a two-person job. And the whole don't have to use the cat toy to lure the cat out makes me kind of wonder if part of why the cat was scared was because the guy mistreats the cat too when this happens. That part is pure speculation on me, but that's kind of like, if the cat is freaking out because it made a mess and it is scared, and he's getting upset because you're trying to lure the cat and calm it down so you can clean it off, that kind of makes me wonder if this cat has been like punished inappropriately for litter box behavior, and it's made it very pee shy or poop shy, and as a result maybe a little bit more anxious around the litter box and more prone to have mistakes.
Yeah. I looked at this poster's like posts and comments to see some stuff of what's going on. And they have a post. So all of their posts are from roughly the same time frame. Most of their comments are from the same time frame. So this may be somebody who's faking or created an alt. But the other two posts they created, one of them is titled "Boyfriend of 5 years told me he doesn't want to get married unless I fix a specific issue, and I've been spiraling since. The issue, of course, is she doesn't fuck him enough." And then the other post is "Endlessly frustrated and unfulfilled" from the cross orientation subreddit, where she says she's a heteroromantic homosexual woman and has only just recently found the words to express herself. So who knows whether this is a real post or not. Regardless, this is a real issue that happens.
Mm.
I've worked with many many patients who have had similar issues in their relationships. And again, I think that the key here is your partner trying to help you succeed, or are they setting you up to fail? If you feel like you have no idea how to reasonably succeed with this person, that's a problem, right? What is she actually supposed to do here? Move something that is physically too heavy for her on her own so she injures herself? Is that going to make him happy? What could she have actually done differently here that would make him happy that isn't a completely unreasonable ask? If you feel like your number one job in your relationship is trying to keep your partner from getting mad, something is fucking wrong and you need to address it.
Considering how closely so many of these posts seem to be, because
Yeah.
they're all from 4 months ago,
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering, like, it does kind of make me wonder if this is a thing where either she is only just starting to question the problem as opposed to it being fake, because assuming good faith and assuming that this is legitimate, The
Yeah.
post about her being heteromantic homosexual, she talks about how, like, she is romantically attracted to men, but never, like, actually enjoys having sex with them, which would
It
correlate
sounds like
with
some comp het to me, honestly. It sounds like
yeah.
compulsory heterosexuality.
Well, it would explain a little bit about, like, him complaining about the sex they're not having in Boyfriend of 5 Years told me he doesn't wanna get married,
Yeah.
but also it may explain a little bit about why she's still with someone who is not good for her
Yeah.
and has these hard times with the relationship they have, where it could well be that she feels a little bit like my friend who was trapped in that marriage, like she can't leave because all of her upbringing says you're supposed to be like this, and you're fighting against your own nature by being in a relationship with this person, but you can't leave them for reasons. Like my friend in the toxic relationship stayed with her husband for as long as she did because she grew up very religious evangelical Christian and very much was told he put his dick in you, now he owns you, and that's what
Yeah.
she lived with until she finally had enough and left him. And it sounds like there's a little bit of not the exact same thing, but the whole, like, you're supposed to be straight, maybe you're allowed to be a little bit queer, but you have to be straight, and
Yeah.
she's trying to be straight with this guy, and it is not working
And
for a lot of
the
reasons, not the least of which being that he's really toxic.
a dick, yeah. In the endlessly frustrated and unfulfilled post, she says, also, side note, I feel like discovering lesbian content at an early age is what made me like this. I wish I never had and things could align. Girl, just date women. Just date women. Just date women. I promise you'll be fine. A lot of sapphics who are still in the grips of compulsory heterosexuality often feel a lot more pull towards dating men, and they feel a lot more of that butterflies with men. Something I tell people is a lot of times butterflies is danger, not excitement. Our bodies have a tough time telling the difference between danger and excitement. Just because you're getting butterflies does not mean that is something that is good for you or that you actually want. It just means that your body has a reaction. If you have never dated a woman before, try dating some women. Men make my
It does
heart
seem like
flutter and I feel at home and the emotional connection can be unreal. Girl, please. You do not have an emotional connection with this man. You don't. He
yeah,
treats you like garbage.
she did have some, like, female friends with benefits relationships, according to this post, but emotionally just didn't want them close like that, lol. Which, I mean, again, that does kind of strike me like maybe it is a
Attachment
case.
trauma.
Yeah, maybe it's attachment trauma. Maybe it is like a case of being a little bit of a layer cake of bisexual leans a little bit more one way than the other. Or it could be, again, compulsory heterosexuality of it's okay for, like, you know, my queer friends with benefits to give me orgasms, but I can't have a relationship with them because heterosexuality.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, this OP needs to dump her fucking boyfriend
In a
because he's
heartbeat. And, like, take the cat.
terrible. He's
Take the
so
cat, leave
bad.
the boyfriend. He's way better. The cat's going to be much happier with you than it with him.
Yeah, and I think just give yourself a chance to actually date women, right? Yesterday, I was recording a podcast as a guest for the Healing Broken Bonds podcast. And one of the things that the host, Heather, had talked about in her interview with the patients that we were talking about was that with trauma, sometimes it creates this almost like polarizing relationship between sex and emotional intimacy, where it feels very dangerous to become emotionally intimate with the people with whom you have good sex. And so you kind of like develop emotional intimacy in one place and then sex in another. Now, I don't know this person's story. I don't know what her history is. I do think this is someone who needs to try actually dating women and giving herself a chance to actually enjoy dating women. Part of why you might get so fucking psyched about dudes early on is because you're supposed to and it feels dangerous and it's playing into the script and you're like following the things you're supposed to do, right? You might feel slower with women, not because you aren't attracted to women romantically, but because it has higher stakes if it's really what you want. A lot of times, the stuff that is the scariest for us often feels like the thing that we don't want, because for our brains and our bodies, sometimes they turn fear into numb. And I think what I would love for her to do is start actually dating women, or even just being in queer community, seeing relationships between women, being present to those relationships, letting go of some of her need to be so close to heterosexuality.
I really do like that you said that how they develop their sexual sexual relationship, but also their emotional needs separately and get them from different places. I kind of mentioned this a little bit in passing when we were talking about the couple having sex for the first time, like porn. A lot of guys get hung up on the whole, like, oh, I got friend zoned because I'm the safe, approachable one that they can feel, comfortable being emotionally open with and talking about real shit with me, but then going off and fucking Johnny Bad Boy. And what you described is precisely the reason why sometimes there is that dynamic in younger
Yeah.
people where they're getting their emotional needs met in one place where they feel like they cannot express themselves emotionally in another, but they are required for one way or another to have the sexual relationship with someone else who may not be the person they actually want to be wanting to have sex with. They are consenting to it. It is consensual sex, but it is not sex that they actually want. It is not the relationship they actually want, but it's the one they feel like they need to have, are supposed to have, can't have anything aside from that one. All of the reasons why someone might have sex with somebody that aren't just about desire.
Well, and I can speak from my own personal experience that most of my early sexual experiences were one night stands. The vast majority were one night stands. And I think in part that was because I really, from a very young age, was very curious about sex, very intrigued by sex, very interested in sex, and had deep attachment wounds. And so the idea of doing that in relationship felt terrifying. But like meeting a hottie at a bar and going and fucking, I can have a great time doing that. And like figuring out how to put the two together has been work of many, many years. Not because I don't want to date the same kind of people I want to fuck necessarily, but because the emotional vulnerability involved in putting the two of those together is really challenging to confront and to move towards when you are still healing attachment wounds and when you are still healing trauma.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of fucking very casually because it was easy to access and I could do it and I wanted to have sex. And I had a lot of people I was very interested in and I liked, and sometimes we had sex, but I also would kind of move on quickly, right? I just kind of didn't get deeply attached to a lot of people for a very long time. Part of that was not knowing I was poly yet and needing to give myself space to get attracted to and fuck multiple people and date multiple people. But part of that also was that emotional vulnerability was always way harder and more scary for me than sexual. I could fuck everybody. That's great. But actually letting someone know me and see me and taking the risk on them rejecting me once they do, horrifying.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of especially my early relationships were marked by really an attitude of this is going to be the only relationship I'm ever going to be able to manage. So I have to stay with this person no matter what, no matter how bad it is. And that led me to being in a really bad toxic relationship for years. And then when I was in the pickup scene, straight up, a lot of the sex I was having was purely about validation, about proving something to a universe that ultimately did not care one way or another. Looking back on it now, I know I was trying to prove it ultimately to myself, but it was like, I am trying to show that I am not the person I was in high school or in college. I am not all of this, but I also, part of what kind of led me out of being there was the number of times I was having sex with people that not only did I not like, but I never wanted to see them again. And that led to a real long dark night of the soul when I realized that midway through about to leave a bar with someone. And so I left her saying like, hey, listen, it's not you, it's me. I'm kind of I think I'm having a breakdown. I'm going to go home and quietly scream to the sun, and went home leaving a very confused woman and realizing that the reason why I was already planning how I was going to go back to her place, we were going to have sex and I was never going to see her again, was because I didn't want to have sex with her. I honestly didn't. I just wanted to have sex with someone and have another notch on my belt post.
Yeah.
And again, there was also a certain amount of hadn't quite realized that not only was I polyamorous, but that was an option yet.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of working all that out. And this is one of the things that drives me crazy about the way that we teach men about sex specifically, is that men do the same thing of we will have emotional relationships with one person and sex with another person, but we never consider that when women, and I'm speaking mostly from a heterosexual perspective here, when women have the same experience with us, when we are the safe friend with someone, and it's someone we were attracted to, but they're not attracted to us in that way, we feel like, oh, you don't like me because I'm safe. You don't like me because I'm a friend. I am just here to be you. And this is the phrase that a lot of people used, myself included at the time, emotional tampon. Yes, it is exactly as ugly as it sounded.
It's so gross.
It really was, and I'm really kind of sad that I used to talk like that, but we don't consider that we are also just as likely to do the same thing, and we don't extend that level of awareness and empathy to the other people to go like, oh yeah, no, I get it. There are people, I was scared to be honest with who I wanted and what I wanted, and I was having sex for reasons beyond just desire and using it in a way that was really unhealthy. Obviously, that's not true for all men who have a lot of sex. That's not true for all women who have a lot of sex, but a lot of times that is a dynamic that we fall into, and we never think that the other person, when we're feeling like we're the ones feeling put upon, we never consider that, and that's a real drawback to relationships.
Well, and the role you are being chosen for is actually the one that takes a lot more trust and that is much more important, right? Like they are choosing you for the hard role, not the easy one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's this backwards way of like sex is better than intimacy that men are taught, where women are taught intimacy is better than sex, and like they're both important in different ways.
And
Yeah,
especially
so
how men's value, again, is the more sex we have, the more value we have, the better men we are. It doesn't matter that the sex we have may not be good for anybody, including ourselves. It's just the numbers.
yeah.
Got it. Those are rookie numbers. Got to get those numbers up.
Whereas women's power is in saying no, right?
Exactly. And then controlling the price and setting the price and then setting the really conflict for like built into, oh, well, someone's not getting what they want, so someone's going to have to lose.
Yeah. It's sad. And to come back to this post by OP, again, in a relationship, your partner should want to help you and to help you succeed. Your partner should not be upset with you for being unable to do something that you can't do. And your partner shouldn't be telling you, I mean, I guess I'll talk to my brother about fixing our fucking washing machine if you clean the whole house first. Does he not need clothes? Does he not need clothing? For some reason, I'm thinking he's not the one who uses the washing machine. I don't know what would give me that impression, since you said that you split the fair share of chores and housework, but seems like that may not be the case.
And to get upset that you went around and got it solved without them, even though they've refused, again, is the tell.
Suck my dick. Yeah. Just suck my fucking dick. Nah. Nope.
Yeah, no. Honey, run, take the cat. The cat will be much happier with you. Let him figure out how to fix his own goddamn washing machine and how to put together his entertainment console.
Yeah. Why was the cat scared? Why do I have a feeling that he didn't ask her to come over and clean the cat?
Well, I got the feeling that when she said come over, she didn't mean come over to the house. It was like, come to the room.
But I think that he didn't ask her in that he like screamed at her.
Oh, yeah. I suspect it was less of a, honey, I can't stop what I'm doing. Could you take care of this? And more of a, woman, get over here. Probably like
this
just
fucking
like
cat.
Get over
here. My fucking God. You need to fucking take care of this. I'm busy.
Yeah. And again, if the cat and then also have to clean up if the cat had an accident, and if it was pee, that's going to take a lot of fucking cleaning. If you've ever had to deal with cat pee in a carpet, you know how long that takes.
Oh, my roommate in Atlanta had 3 cats, one of whom was not good at actually using the litter box. And he would just like, if the cat peed outside the litter box, he would like spray the spray on it and then leave it there for a while. And then eventually come and wipe it up. Hardwood floors. Yes, they were already discolored and starting to warp by the time I moved out.
Yeah, but on the one hand, sometimes you do have to leave it there to absorb all the stain or break down the...
For 15 to 30 minutes, sure. I'm talking hours.
Oh, fuck no. But also, you wipe it up, then you spray, you let that break down the enzyme. Anyway, sorry, we're getting way off. Welcome to Cleancast, where we teach you how to clean impossible things.
Yeah. Anyway, break up.
Yeah, seriously. Break up at speed. Break up so hard that his grandparents divorce retroactively. Make his ancestors wonder what the fuck just happened.
They're having sex once a week and he doesn't want to marry her because that frequency is too low.
They've been together for 5 years?
5 years!
That is a fucking miracle. You're practically acting like newlyweds. Jesus Christ.
Seriously. Unbelievable.
5 years and he's complaining about getting it once a week. Jesus goddamn Christ.
And she never says no when he asks. Oh no, we have sex at least once a week. And I never turn him down.
If you absolutely fucking should, apparently. Anyway, yes, this is bad. Get out now.
Dump him. My favorite tarot spread is there's an image online you can find of tarot cards laid out to spell dump him. It's my favorite tarot spread.
It's a real Oops All Towers kind of situation. This is a read. Why does he do that? Seriously.
Yeah. For
Like,
reals
this is
though.
some,
For reals though.
yeah. Lundy
Everyone should
Bancroft is
read.
one where this is one you should probably read.
I have some issues with why does he do that. There's a lot of things about it that I disagree with, in particular that he kind of posits that women can't abuse men, which is not true. He is true that there are gender dynamics at play and that societal axes of oppression play into like how abuse is perpetuated and also who has access to abusiveness in the same degrees. But I thoroughly disagree with that part. But still, everyone who dates men should read Why Does He Do That? I mean, everyone who dates should probably read Why Does He Do That? But especially if you date
it does require
men.
a certain amount of translating some things depending on who you're dating. But yeah, it is a valuable book to teach you that, oh, if they can't control their temper, but somehow the only time they break stuff, it's your stuff, yeah, they can control their fucking temper.
They can't control their temper, but they do at work. They can't control their temper, but they do with their parents.
They can't control their temper, but somehow they've never been arrested for starting a fight with the cops.
Yeah, so fucking weird how that happens. It's so weird that they can't control their temper, but only with you. They have to break things when they're angry, but only your stuff.
Yep, they have to punch the wall instead of punching you. That, you know, I'm betting that there's a lot of mysteriously destroyed stuff in OP's apartment.
There's a famous author of a polyamory book who did that to their partner, where they would just break their stuff when they were upset.
Yeah, I'm really annoyed because I recommended that book to so many people and now I can't anymore because like the information may be good, but it's a little bit like the information may be good, but the source is really fucking sus.
Anyway, dump your boyfriend. In general, if you're in a relationship and you feel like you're having to figure out how to keep your partner from being mad all the time, break up, right? Like either the two of you are a terrible fit and neither of you is doing anything wrong. It's just a bad fit, or they're really fucking up and you should leave, or you're really fucking up and they don't deserve you. So like, no matter what, break up. Yeah. If you feel like you're having to keep your partner from being mad at you all the time, break up.
If you're always walking on eggs, time to break up. Black clap.
Yeah. Stop Walking on Eggshells, another great book, primarily about dating people who have borderline or narcissistic personality disorders or traits, but another very good book. Anyway, I think we've done it. So
I think we have. I think we got a sewed.
If you liked this, like, comment, subscribe, rate, share, all the things. If you hated it and you want to talk about how unfuckable I am, please leave as many comments as you possibly can. I promise I cry for every single one. They make me so depressed. Every time I'm having sex with another super sexy person, I cry about it, about how unfuckable I am.
And honestly, my job really takes up absolutely no time. So get me responding to you in the comments, waste my time that way. I've got nothing else to do. So it gives me at least a little something to kill the time. So yeah, please do that. Waste my time.
Please do. Harris, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, people can find me at my website, drnerdlove.com. And if you can read my columns there, I have got literally over, oh God, now I have to do math in my head, 15 years worth of material to go through. So check out the archives. You will never be bored as long as you've got questions. And if you have a question that I haven't covered or haven't covered recently and you need it answered, you can submit it to Ask Dr. Nerdlove at drnerdlove.com/contact. I am on all the socials as at drnerdlove, and I've got a Patreon at patreon.com/you guessed it, drnerdlove. But Dr. Liz, where can they find you online?
I'm on all the social medias as at drliz powell, Dr. Liz Powell. You can find my website at drlizpowell.com. If you want cute merch like my Celebrate Trans Joy t-shirt, you can find that at drlizpowell.com/shop. And someday we will get our act together and start a coffee. It's going to come soon, I think, probably.
One day, probably after Allie sits on us for long enough.
You know, it's fine. We're adults.
We're adults. Professionals.
Totally, yeah.
Content creator, top of our game.
Very, very.
And as professionals, I believe we have to leave you with our catchphrase.
Do as we say.
Not as they did.